our next video about clearing emotional patterns. So the last video we talked about how we can identify them through just like mindfulness and attention, journaling about emotions and situations, and recognizing what issues, what pattern might be in our way. So now we'll talk about how we can clear those emotional patterns. And basically it's kind of a quick 4-step process. I hit it at the last video and I talked about how it requires repetition because these patterns have been developed and reinforced over our whole lives. You can't fix it with one use. It's not a, quick fix thing. It takes time and it takes attention and it takes, just being aware and repetition. So, first thing is understanding the emotional pattern. So we've identified an emotion that is problematic for us, and now recognizing the pattern and how the same emotion might present itself in different situations and how it affects our life then. It allows us to see why we are experiencing the problems in our lives, and once the pattern is understood or the issue is defined, the message or a better way of handling the situation appears, right? So you've ever had that situation where you've been like, oh, my kid just makes me so crazy, and we always end up yelling at each other, and then recognizing that your reaction, that's an emotional pattern that is in the way and causing problems, and recognizing that's like a big first step. But then, okay, well, what I'm doing isn't working. Well, what's the opposite of what I'm doing? Maybe, like that way out, a better way to handle the situation becomes kind of clear once you realize that maybe your response isn't the most healthy response for you. So recognizing the problem before we find ourselves in the middle of it. So understanding the cause of the problem, situations can then be dealt with in a different way. Where lesson has been learned, right? So we recognize how we can do something differently. And then the next part is like probably the hardest, being willing and ready to change, because we like our negativity. We like our troubles, that's familiar, right? We don't want them per se, like we recognize that it's a problem, but we're familiar with it. We're comfortable, me and like not being accepted, or me and frustration and quick to anger, we're good friends, like we've had a whole lifetime of, enjoying each other's company and reinforcing each other and propping each other up. Like, it's okay, April, good to go. Like it's great. You can yell at them. That's fine. Have that reaction. That's how you're supposed to react. That's what they get. That's our typical response. We love our negativity. All right. So the challenge is being ready to change. Until the ramifications or effects of that behavior are understood and experienced, there's no need, requirement, or motivation to change. We like it. We, as much as we say like, oh, I want to work on my attitude, we like it because it's familiar. So situations get worse or deteriorate to an unbearable level before we're able to see the pattern and our role in that pattern. So we have to, change requires a shifting of direction, and it takes effort and focused energy. It's easy to stay in our negative cycles and our negative patterns, right? It's easy because we know it. It's hard. It takes like focus and concentration and energy, and it is emotionally exhausting to clear these kind of behaviors and to start a new pattern. But that's the only way the change is going to happen. If you're not ready and willing to change, then it's not going to happen. So you have to get your mind right. We have to see the issue. We have to see, sorry, let me get that out. We have to see the way out. We have to see that there is light at the end of that tunnel, and that there is a better way, and that it's worth our effort. And sometimes it's like you're on rock bottom, maybe, your loved one is like, I'm done. Your kids are in like, therapy because you have them so kind of twisted up or whatever. You're on the risk of losing your job because you can't cope with your peers. Sometimes things have to get bad before we're ready to actually make a change. So once we're ready to make a change and willing to make that change, then we change the emotional energy pattern. That's the next step. So an automatic behavior or response is a fixed energy pattern. To effectively make that change, the energy needs to be cleared out of all parts of the body, physical, mental, and emotional. Learning the lesson affects the spiritual body. Understanding the pattern addresses the mental, and the associated alarm points access the physical body, and feelings relate to the emotional body. Does that make sense? So we have lessons in conscious awareness, as then we have to feel the emotion and we have to release it from cellular memory. The emotions are stored in those glands or organs, like I was talking about earlier, and they can be accessed through the acupuncture alarm points. And I mean, I'm not an acupuncturist, I'm not even an acupressurist, but there are great charts, and there's a great chart in this book that just kind of tells you the alarm points for that emotion or that issue. Utilizing the oils that way. So let's see, we access the limbic system with those oils, then through the smell. So the physical body through those acupressure alarm points or acupuncture alarm points, and the limbic system through the smell, which is great about topical application of oils because you're going to smell it, right? Because you're putting it on your hands to apply to your body, and then you have the smell it's still on your hands. The essential oils hold vibrational frequencies that can help shift patterns. So using these alarm points sends that frequency directly to that specific organ, like for anger, the liver, and the smells release the pattern from the limbic system. It's direct access to our body's cellular memory. So again, repetition. And it's really like, it's really kind of basic. Apply the oils. You've identified the pattern, you've identified the way out, you have identified which oil would be beneficial in supporting that change. Just put a couple of drops in your hand. I think she suggests like activating the oil, like by, rubbing your hand like clockwise to just kind of activate, and then applying it, smelling, maybe a couple of good deep breaths in, speaking your affirmation, and then if you have any left, like I kind of like to put on these kind of like filter and response points on your neck. I apply a lot of oils in that area, it's kind of natural for me, but I read this book and apparently that's our filter points, and that's a really appropriate place to apply oils to support your physical application for whatever part of the body that it is that acupressure or an acupuncture alarm point. So kind of neat. And then, and smelling the oil. And that can be repeated as much as it needs to be. Maybe you need to do it just once in the morning and once at bedtime. A lot of people feel like that's all they really have time for. If you need to do it more frequently, if throughout the day you're feeling yourself starting to escalate to whatever that behavior or pattern is, then, go pull out your oil and smell it. At least smelling, again, to access the limbic system. So intentionality, again, awareness of our body, and, just really important to be aware and utilize the oils to just literally apply, smell, breathe, be, and move on. So again, repetition. So the next few slides are about the feelings kit, which is a really awesome kit. It's 6 oils. Gary Young has a protocol, I guess, for how to use it, and so I'm going to hop back on in a few minutes after you've had a chance to read about those oils in the feelings kit and talk about it a little bit more. And I think I have a link, I'll have to find it again, but I have a link for him. It's just a couple minutes of Gary Young actually talking about why he formulated these oils and how they support our health and wellness. So it's really cool. I actually just found it today when I was getting this class set up. I hadn't heard it before, so I think you guys will enjoy it. So the oils in the feelings kit are valor, harmony, forgiveness, present time, and release inner child is the last one. So 6 oils in the feelings kit. It's a really awesome kit. I'm so glad that I bought it. We use oils from that kit every day, routinely and in crisis, so they're just really diverse. So let me get those posted up for you guys, and then I'll hop back on in a few minutes and we will talk about those oils a little bit more. All right.